Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Hour 2. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rear view mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. SEC Baseball Power Rankings coming up in 30 minutes. Let's talk some baseball with Koki Riley from The Advocate. He's with us on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you?
Doing pretty well. How's it going?
Going quite well. How was Oxford over the weekend other than the baseball? Beautiful little college town. Did you spend some time on the square?
A little bit, yeah, and went out to eat a little bit, and yeah, it's just such a different vibe than LSU, where it's like you're in this actual city and there's other things going on, and in Oxford it's Ole Miss and that's it. So you better like Ole Miss if you're living in Oxford. I'll say that.
Well, not a lot of folks around here digging on Ole Miss after the weekend. LSU lost all three. It was disappointing to me to watch LSU's offense against some really talented arms. What did you make of the Tigers' offense against some guys that can really pitch it?
I thought they just kind of let those guys off the hook a little bit, where they get off to good starts at the plate. They're putting some balls in play. They're scoring some runs and getting off 2-0 leads. And I think both of the first two games of the series, and all of a sudden, Cade Townsend and Hunter Elliott are just mowing down batters one after one, and it is. I mean, LSU had a couple of missed opportunities to sort of blow out the lead in both these games, and yeah, it's just a lot of the two-out hitting, a lot of the inability to drive in runners in scoring position. That was really the big issue for them for most of the series. Sunday was a different story, but yeah, it was just a lot of it was just them letting both those guys off the hook, because it seemed like they had pretty good game plans heading in, and they were executing to some degree early on, and then all of a sudden they let those guys get into a rhythm, especially with Townsend after the first couple innings, and yeah, it's just kind of disappointing because like they had the talent to sort of capitalize on these guys a little bit, especially if they're leaving pitches in the zone. But they just weren't really executing. That's kind of been the theme of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Johnson said after the game on Friday, like, we just have to play baseball better. And he's talking about not stepping on second base, and they make base running errors almost nightly and not throwing the ball over the plate and all of that. I mean, how have you seen Jay kind of handle this version of the disappointing season like we saw 2 years ago?
I think he's incredibly frustrated with this team. Even last night where they win the game,
yeah,
to beat a pretty decent Northwestern State team, he's saying that exact thing again. Like, we have to just play better. Like, granted, this team is, it's not like they're not trying. It's not like they don't have any fight. They've had a bunch of comeback wins this season when they have won. It's just they can't execute, and they just keep on making these very dumb mental mistakes on the base paths, and they keep on, there's just constant errors in the field, and all these things are kind of what's really driving him up a wall, combined with some of the situational stuff on offense, and then the pitching staff just being as inconsistent as it has been so far this year. So I don't know if their pitching is that far off of what it's been in the past, or even their offense, but it's a lot of the other stuff around the margins, if you want to call fielding and base running around the margins, that have absolutely failed them this year, and you just haven't really seen that during his time at LSU.
Let's go to what should be the backbone of this team, which is Kason Evans and William Schmidt. I don't think anybody is here to suggest that those guys have been a disaster by any stretch, but certainly have not lived up to what the 1-2 punch was last year. What is your feeling about those two guys for the last 5 weeks of SEC play?
You hope for another step forward, and I think with those two guys in place, you feel good about next year's rotation, but they need those guys to be next year's version of themselves over the next 5 weeks, right? And I don't know if that's like necessarily totally realistic to expect. I think Kason Evans is probably further ahead in his development. You know, you don't see that in the ERA. I think he's further ahead in his development in terms of just like mastering his stuff, and it just, you know, when he's on, he's really, really on. And I don't know. I feel like some of the mistakes that Evans has had are like pretty like smaller correctable things. While with Schmidt, it feels like it's like the constant lack of efficiency in the starts points to something a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? So I feel like I feel pretty good about those guys moving forward, but it's not really moving forward the next 5 weeks. It's moving forward into next season, right? Like, I think that's kind of where you're at with this rotation at the moment. And then you might get Cooper Moore to help you out a little bit this week, but I don't think he's going to be fully ready to start games right away, at least. So, yeah, that's just kind of where this pitching staff is at the starting pitching staff is at the moment. And then you have the bullpen, which is the full kind of a potpourri of different options, and you're not sure what you're going to get with most of these guys on most nights. And I don't know, like it's kind of where they're at right now.
You mentioned Cooper Moore hopefully coming back for a limited role this weekend. Jay mentioned like maybe one inning. If that's the case, as badly as they've struggled with starting the games on Sunday, even though they won 2 of them, is there a world where Sheeran's the closer Friday and Saturday if you get a lead, and if you split those, then Cowan can start on Sunday?
Yeah, I can see a world where that happens. It depends how sick Jay is of like falling behind in these Sunday games.
Yeah.
And you know, like Gavin Guidry was the guy in the Kentucky game. Fondo's been the guy the last 2 weeks in these series finales. Granted, LSU's offense has been lights out in a good way against these kind of back into the bullpen Sunday days. So they kind of have that to lean on. But if they just get off to a good start, they're going to win one. They're going to win these games because of the way the offense can just kind of mow through an opposing team's bullpen. So like knowing that and knowing this team's specific tendency with doing that, I wouldn't be stunned to see them be a little bit more aggressive with the starter and who they pick on Sunday. And I know Jay's had a lot of confidence in Grant Fontenot, but like Fontenot, as much as he's improved from last season, he still gives up a lot of hits. His command isn't perfect. He'll still walk a guy here and there. So it's not like he's the perfect answer for that. Maybe you just want to use a guy like that on a Saturday when you're up by 3 runs or down by 3 runs in the 6th inning, right? Like that, he seems more appropriate for a role like that than be the guy who's like, well, we need to get off to a good start. Let's turn the Grant Fontenot. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think Sheeran will almost exclusively be used at the end of games. He's just, given his style as a pitcher, he's better used as that fire-breathing dragon coming out of the bullpen to close out the game. He has the attitude for it. He has the stuff for it. His delivery is not meant for him to be a starter, really, by any means. So that's kind of what I would do, but we'll see what Jay does.
Right now, Jay's playing Mason Braun every day at first base. Does that continue? I
think so, as long as Braun's churning out the quality at bats that he has been churning out. I'm blanking on what he did last night exactly. I mean, not most guys didn't really do much at the plate last night, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I mean, over the weekend he was really, really good. Even though he went over 4 on Sunday, he had like a really hard hit ball that just got caught. So he's churning out consistently good at bats. He's a good contactor. Defensively, there's a lot of work to be done there, but he's catching the routine stuff. So I guess that's an upgrade from what they got from Zach York in the Tennessee series. So he's giving you something on one side of the ball or the other, and that's not what you were getting at first base through much of conference play. So that alone is why I think he's going to stick there, at least for now.
Yeah, last night 0 for 2, but he did walk. He had a sacrifice hit. He got that bunt down. I remember him trying to bunt. He got it down, I'm assuming. It's credited here, and it wasn't a sac fly because they didn't have a sac fly that scored a run. So it must have been 0 for 2 with the walk and a sac bunt last night.
Yeah, that's good enough. You know, like that is like. But he also had like a 3-hit game against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So like when you factor in all that stuff, like he had 5 hits over the weekend. Like that will do. Like that will definitely play. Granted, you want to have your first baseman have more power than he does, but can't be picky right now. They got to just get somebody who can do something on one side of the ball or the other. Like, that's kind of the key at first base for them right now.
All right, these Aggies do not have great pitching. They're limited in that perspective. They hit a ton. How do you feel about the matchup this weekend in the box?
It's kind of interesting, right? Like, I think LSU could do some pretty good damage against this pitching staff. As you said, like, they don't have a whole, like, A&M really doesn't have much pitching. You know, Weston Moss, Shane Steyo, it's light, right? And because of that, like, LSU does a pretty good job of just kind of like crushing teams that don't really have that pitching depth. Their offense is actually kind of toward the top half of the SEC in conference play. Depending on the stat you're looking at, I think they're like second in on base percentage. They're third or like fourth or fifth in home runs. It's not that bad actually, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they just kind of crush bad pitching. And so I think that's kind of a good thing for LSU, the fact that they're facing an A&M staff that's not that great. But on the flip side, that's obviously where you're gonna get a little bit nervous. And these are probably going to be fairly high scoring games, so it's going to be a pretty different challenge than what they had to Ole Miss last week, where Ole Miss was boomer bust on offense and had a really good starting staff. So that was I guess that was kind of a unique matchup from what they've seen so far this year. And with this A&M team, this is probably the best offense they've faced yet. So it's going to be a pretty big challenge with this pitching staff, and should be interesting to see what happens here.
Last one. Do you believe LSU will make the NCAA tournament?
For now, yes. I don't feel good about that at all, though. I don't feel good about either answer, because I thought they were probably going to miss when they were 3-12 in 2024 in conference play. This team might actually have a worse RPI than that team. I'd have to go back and check. But yeah, I was like literally putting together a story on that question, and just kind of kicking off the RPI watch, so to say, for this team. And I mean, right now they're 67th in RPI. Their KPI and DSR are in a much better spot, which are kind of more advanced versions of RPI, just put it plainly.
Right.
They're in a much better spot in those. Like, they're 29th in DSR, they're 45th in KPI, which kind of means that like the margin in which they're losing games and some of the blowout wins have definitely helped their advanced numbers. But like, that's probably not going to be the determining factor when it comes to this stuff. It's going to come down to conference record. Can they get those historical benchmarks, whether it's 13 conference wins or 38 wins overall, and can they get an RPI that's at least respectable into the 40s, maybe even the 30s? And they have plenty of opportunities to improve their RPI. That's the good news. Even though it's 67th round, it's even worse after the last weekend. It was 75th, I think, on Sunday. So like, if they can improve on that RPI and get some wins here against these teams that are really, really good in RPI right now, like they're all top 25 RPI teams.
Yep.
They're all quad one games. If they can get 6, 7, 8 wins out of that stretch, then they're going to be in a much better spot. But the challenge is actually getting 6 or 7, 8 wins. I think that's kind of going to determine their season, right? That and not dropping another non-conference game.
We shall see. I'll see you at the box this weekend, Koki. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Koki Riley with The Advocate, covering the LSU baseball team. We'll do some SEC baseball power rankings coming up in 15 minutes. Saints talk coming up. Mel Kiper's got a new mock, first and second round. What's he got for the Hoodats? We'll talk about it.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Our show's on Wednesday, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. BuiltByRenaissance.com is the website, BuiltByRenaissance.com. You can see pictures of some fantastic work that Joey Blanchard and his team at Renaissance Homes and Pools has done. But he'd really rather you shoot him a text. That's kind of how Joey rolls. He wants to talk to you. He's the owner. He's going to be your point person. He's going to be the person that walks you through the consultation, the design. He'll be there when they dig the pool. He'll be there when they fill that pool. He'll be there when they finish that pool. He's your guy, and he's been doing it in Baton Rouge for a couple decades. He's done it for dozens and dozens of people around our area. So if you want a pool and you want to get into it this summer, start that process right now. Text Joey or give him a call, Either one works just fine. He'll get back to you. 225-252-7745. Whether you're looking for a pool and an outdoor kitchen, maybe you're looking to build your forever home, the one that you've always wanted. Joey can do that just like he's done for dozens and dozens of Baton Rouge area families. It's built by Renaissance.com. Give Joey a call at 225-252-7745. Renaissance Homes and Pools.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Got the next edition of the SEC Baseball Power Rankings right here in the old notebook. We're going to go through those coming up in 15 minutes. We are inching closer to draft day, 8 days away. You feeling over there, Jordan?
I feel it because my birthday's around the draft, so it's like, it's around that time of year, yeah.
I like a spring birthday. My birthday is not at a great time. January 21st, I mean...
Well, look, my whole family, my mom's side of the family, all of them are born in January. Mom, my grandpa, my grandma, and her brother are all born in January.
As you well know, the only redeeming quality about my birthday, well, there's kind of two. One, it's just far away enough from Christmas where you like get something in January that's because January is the worst month of the year by everybody. Weather's terrible. Everybody's trying to be healthy.
Super long month.
Dry January, long month, the whole deal. You're starting over from if you're in sales, like everything you did the year before is gone. You got to start up. Whole deal. Budget's new, all that kind of stuff. The only redeeming quality really is that I got the big snow.
Yeah.
Got the mega snow last year.
And you know what?
8 inches of snow.
Probably will never see that ever again.
No, will not. And as I said that day when we came back, I went to the pool on my birthday, my junior year of college. It was like 78.
Yeah.
So I've had pool and snow on my birthday.
Yeah, man.
Very few can say that around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the draft is here. It's a week away, and so you start looking at the mock drafts. And I think I look at this from two perspectives. One, with the Saints' first-round pick, you are getting the same 4 or 5 names, but it feels like in years past you've gotten the same 2 names. It feels like we kind of know where things are headed, but there's more options. And I think that's usually the closer you are to 1, the narrower that focus gets. And the Saints being at 8, brings a little bit more focus in. But there's variability. There's no question about it. And Mel Kiper's got his mock draft. Keep in mind, this is not the big board. This is the mock draft. So who they actually are going to take. And he's got the Saints in the first and second round here at number 8 overall, taking Ruben Bain from Florida. I looked up because I thought to my head, okay, I know Cam had a pretty good year. I know Chase Young's sack total wasn't huge, but it felt like he was making a presence. Carl Granderson's year was okay. I know that Brian Brzee can rush the passer, but I felt like the Saints had a decent year as far as pass rush goes. And so I went back and looked it up. They were 7th in the NFL in sack percentage. They were 10th in the NFL in sacks per game. So either metric, the Saints were pretty good at rushing the passer. So this would not be significantly bolstering a weakness from last year. However, you're talking about bringing in a rookie. You know that Cam Jordan is either not going to be here in this coming season or will not be here long if he does come back. And Chase Young and Carl Granderson, both have a little bit left on their contract, but you're talking about if you're bringing a guy in the first round, you want him to be on your team for 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. And so Bain is more of a long-term play to bring in the best possible player at a very much an impact need. As I've said many, many times, I'm not really here to scout these prospects. I think this plan would be just fine. And y'all know my spiel on Bain. He impacted a college football playoff unlike any defensive player I have ever seen. I know that he's not tall. I know that his arms aren't long. I know that he's incredibly powerful. I know he was massively productive. And I would not be at all disappointed with that pick. The best thing you could say about the Saints taking a pass rusher at 8 in Bain, don't think Arvell Reese will be there, but if you take one in Bain here, Bailey's not going to be there either, I don't think. The best thing you could say is that it's, generally speaking, harder to find an edge rusher late in the draft than it is early. generally speaking, easier to find a wide receiver late in the draft than a edge rusher. So if you're going to use this asset on something you just don't think you can replicate anywhere else, free agency or later in the draft, I would be perfectly fine with the Saints taking Reuben Bain. But I will tell you, if they take Bain or Styles or Downs or whoever on the defensive side with that 8th pick, I will have all eyes on that 2nd-round pick. It needs to be a receiver. Because as I've said, I'm not here to scout the prospects. I'm here to evaluate the plan. The plan needs a receiver. And if there's not one at 8, there needs to be one at 42. And Mel Kiper has the Saints, in this instance, at 42, going with KC Concepcion, wide receiver, Texas A&M. Now, here's what I would say about that fit with the Saints. KC Concepcion is a very different player than Chris Olave. He's a very different player than Devon Vele. He is a very different player than Jalen Polk. He is short and wildly explosive with the ball. Olave's not a big presence, but he glides. He makes catches, in the intermediate routes. He can be a big play threat. Concepcion is a nightmare to try to keep your hands on. Like, that's him. That's why he's such a great kickoff and punt returner in college. That's why he went for 919 yards and 9 touchdowns this past season with a quarterback that was just okay delivering the ball and a guy next to him who was having a monster season as well. Those two guys at Texas A&M were fantastic this past year. And if you're looking at your wide receiver group and want to build it in a way that looks like a basketball team that has varying skill sets, I think Concepcion is a good fit. I think it's very unlikely that KC Concepcion becomes your number 1 receiver. If you're looking to diversify your throws and your receptions, and you're looking to diversify your skill sets, this makes a lot of sense. If you're looking for Chris Olave to become a number 2, that probably doesn't do it for me. But again, that's not my expertise. I love the player that KC Concepcion is. I think he's impactful. I think he would be a diversification of skill sets if you took him at this spot, because I don't see him playing like them. But I will say this, in this mock draft from Mel Kiper, you have identified an edge rusher, you have identified a playmaker on offense. Your offense, from a 1 to call it 14, feels pretty set at that point, 1 to 14. Your defense still has issues at corner and potentially issue at linebacker. You've got 5 more rounds. You've got draft assets. You've got things you can do later in the draft. But that's where you would be if those were your 2 picks. If the Saints drafted Bain and Concepcion, 2 guys who battled in the college football playoff, in Kyle Field, in College Station, I would look at those 2 picks and say, I like the plan. I think this is good. I think the Saints are better. That's what I would say. Neither one of those picks is jaw-dropping. I kind of prefer wide receiver in the first round. You don't know how it falls. I actually didn't take the time to look at how this one fell. I just looked at the selection, so let's just look at that. We can do it together briefly.
I was just about to ask you, where's Downs?
Mendoza 1, Bailey 2, Arvell Reese 3. So there's your first 2 edge rushers. Okay. 1, and then you got Jeremiah Love at 4 to the Titans. Downs is gone at 5 to the Giants.
All right.
He projects a trade where Dallas moves up to get Sonny Styles at 6.
That would be crazy.
And then right in front of the Saints, Carnell Tate goes. So in this, you don't have the guys you would be passing on to take Bain that have been mocked to the Saints in other instances are Jordan Tyson to the Chiefs, Mansour Delane to the Bengals, not really Maui Noah, not really Proctor, and then Mekhi Lemon at 13.
Yeah, I'm not losing sleep over that. No, I mean, if the draft falls that way and Reuben Bain falls to you, that's kind of like a gift from God. Yeah. So you don't even question that. You just take him and move forward with that. Especially, and then you can just love Cam Jordan, put a seal on it. It's over. Yeah. See you later. And then you rebound with KC Concepcion. I like him. I wanted him to go to LSU because he was in the transfer portal before the season, so I did want him to go to LSU.
I saw him whistling down that sideline on that punt return in Tiger Stadium right in front of my eyes.
Exactly, and anybody that can make Marcel Reed look good, you it's a little bit of extra on top. It's a little bit of cherry on top. So this guy can play. I do have a little bit of questions about him, like being a receiver, though.
Yeah, he's just a playmaker.
He's a playmaker. Thank you. He's a playmaker, special teams. Kick return, punt return. That's him. But we need a receiver. So if he can, transition that, maybe Olave work with him or whatnot to become an actual receiver, then yes. But if your first 2 picks are Ruben Bain and Casey Concepcion, that's an A+ out of me. Like, you can't complain about that.
All right, we shall see. That's a look at your New Orleans Saints. We'll come back. SEC Baseball Power Rankings next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com. I know that those summer road trips are coming up quickly. Kids will be out of school before you know it. You'll be hitting the road to the beach or maybe to take kids to camp, maybe wherever you may go for your annual road trip. Maybe you head up north towards the mountains. No matter what, you may need a new ride for that. And if you're looking for an SUV, how about a Chevy Tahoe? How about a Chevy Suburban? They got them at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Looking for a Yukon or Denali? They got them. And I can promise you, you make that quick drive up Highway 61 to St. Francisville, you will have phenomenal customer service, a wonderful buying experience, and great service after the sale because the Fabry family has been doing that for 35 years. They've had 3 locations, 5 different brands. Now with that Chevrolet GMC point in St. Francisville, go by and see them before you get on the road for your big family road trip this summer. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're online at FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Only 2 teams stand pat in this week's SEC Baseball Power Rankings. We'll get to those in one moment. But let me tell you about First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. Bank local with First American Bank and Trust. They are the very definition of local. They've been in Southeast Louisiana since 1910. That's 116 years ago. And now they've grown to 25 locations throughout the great state of Louisiana, right here in our pocket in the Southeast. Whether you're down the bayou in St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne, maybe you're on the I-12 corridor with St. Tammany or Tangipahoa, maybe down in Metairie, they got a location for you. First American Bank and Trust. The people that make the decisions at First American Bank and Trust for your commercial loan, for your personal loan to buy that home you've always been looking for. The people that make that decision, they're local. They go to church with you. Their kids are in school with yours. It's not somebody in Atlanta, nobody in Sacramento, or Chicago, nobody on Manhattan. It's right here in Southeast Louisiana. So bank local, and that doesn't mean compromise the ability of your bank. No, First American Bank and Trust has 25 locations. They can handle your commercial loan. Find them online at FABT.com, FABT.com. It's First American Bank and Trust. All right, we've waited long enough. Power Rankings.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings. The Texas Longhorns.
Hold your horses. I did not move Texas. It's fine. I know they did not win a game last weekend in College Station. They also didn't play the third game. That's when Dylan Volantis pitches. They haven't lost one of those starts all year. Texas got it. Got to give it to him a little bit by the little brother. They got beat 2 days in a row. That Aggie offense came to play against good Texas pitching. I'm not going to go nuts here. They lost a weekend. I got Texas at number 1.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia is good. I've got them at number 2. It's a heck of a ball club. I've got them up a spot to number 2. They are pitching better. The velocity out of the bullpen is excellent. And we know that they can hit balls out of any ballpark in the country. So I like Georgia a lot. They're number 2.
The Florida Gators.
I've moved Florida up all the way to the number 3 spot here. The bullpen is their strength behind Aiden King and Liam Peterson. They've shuffled that rotation around a little bit, and they're starting to swing the bats. You take 2 out of 3 from Georgia, you're doing something right. Florida, I think, did something right over the weekend. So I like this Florida team. Kevin O'Sullivan's done a good job. Yep, they got clocked by Bethune-Cookman last night. Happens to the best programs in the country, right? Maybe, but Florida's number 3.
The Auburn Tigers.
Auburn didn't move. They take 2 out of 3. They've won a couple weekends in a row. My concern here with Auburn a little bit is that 2 of Jake Marciano's last 3 outings have not been that good. This past weekend against Kentucky, 4 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 runs. He's been like kind of one of my favorite things about Auburn, and like maybe some SEC teams are starting to see it a little bit better. It's never been like dominant stuff, but I like him as a pitcher. He's not doing anything terrible, but he was one of the main reasons I loved Auburn. Got him at number 4.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
I'd moved the Hogs back to number 6 from that number 2 spot. Now I moved them back to number 5, taking care of business, going to Alabama, sweeping. I told you I was not ready to believe in Alabama. I was not ready to quit on Arkansas. That bore itself out over the weekend. Arkansas took care of business. You can't count out Dave Van Horn's club. I think they're struggling a little bit offensively. They've got an issue in one of the rotation slots, but I think they're going to be okay. I moved them up to number 5.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Look, I think State's really good. We're going to talk a lot about Mississippi State next week. I'm headed to Starkville for that series. I'll be doing my show next Friday from Starkville. But if you lose 6 straight SEC games on your home field, I got to ding you for that, right? I can't just sit here and just completely dismiss the whole thing. So I got to move them back. I moved them from 2 to number 6.
Texas A&M!
Aggies move up from 11 to 7. This offense is legitimate, y'all. It's very, very good. They scored 9 runs on Texas in the first game with Ruger Riojas on the mound. They scored 11 with Harrison on the mound. In those 2 games against Texas, the Aggies 16 hits and a pair of homers. It's a legitimate offense. They're very good. I don't think the pitching staff's very good. We'll start to get into them tomorrow a little bit. They've got some holes there on the staff. They got a talent deficiency on the staff, but they can hit, and that's why they've got themselves there at number 7.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
I moved Ole Miss up to number 5. This is kind of eye test, right? Because I just really thought the arms they put out there was good. We'll get to LSU shortly. I've got my shortcomings on them, but I saw Hunter Elliott. It looked great. I saw Cade Townsend. It looked great. I saw Rabe. It was incredible for 6 no-hit innings on Sunday. Hooks came in and was great in 2 different games out of the bullpen. Like, they can pitch, and they've got some guys that can run it out of the yard. They haven't done it a ton. Ole Miss has got some flaws. There's no doubt. They strike out too much, and I don't think what they did against LSU's pitching is indicative of what they'll do all year, but Ole Miss is decent. I got them at 8.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
I just didn't ever really buy into Bama, and that's not to say their season's over or anything, but they did get swept by Arkansas, and I think that's closer to what they are. They've been swept twice out of the first 2 weekends. Kentucky swept them, Arkansas swept them. So there are flaws. Yeah, they went to Gainesville and took a series. That's fantastic. Yes, they swept Auburn. That's great. Those are 2 of my top 4 teams. There's some good things there, but I'm just not buying right now with Bama, so I've got them down at number 9.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee's up 4 spots from 14 to 10. I do that because, 1, they went to Starkville and swept. 2, the arms are good. Mack is good. Coons is good. Appenzeller is phenomenal. They've got some guys that can throw it. They've got offensive problems. There's no doubt. And if you give up 1 billion home runs to LSU over a weekend, that's not great either. That's all their bullpen after those guys I mentioned. But some talent, so I moved them up to number 10.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky got beat in a series by Missouri a couple weeks ago. They got beat by Auburn in the series this past weekend. They moved down to number 11. I don't think Kentucky is great. I think Jackson Jelkin is very good. That's about all I have to say about that, so I'll leave Kentucky at number 11.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
I also don't think Oklahoma is very good. I moved them back 2 spots to number 12. They've gotten really nothing from L.J. Mercurius of late. Cam Johnson did not make it out of the first inning last week. He walked 4 guys. I don't know how they can keep trotting him out there on the weekends at that rate. I think Willits is a nice player. I think Walk can run. They can steal some bases, but that's not a formula for great baseball. If your ace is faltering, your number 2 shouldn't be in an SEC rotation, and you don't hit a ton. I just don't love Oklahoma.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
I moved Vandy back to number 13. They lost 2 out of 3 at home to Oklahoma, which doesn't help. So this is a team that's got the worst ERA in the Southeastern Conference. Connor Fennell is an ace that's limited a little bit. Their bullpen is really struggling without Austin Nye, who was their best pitcher and was in the rotation at one point. They can't pitch it, and that's why they're down at number 13.
The LSU Tigers.
Y'all, what do you want me to do? They got swept against Ole Miss. Their offensive numbers are middle of the pack. Their pitching numbers are bottom of the pack. Their wild pitch number leads the conference by 15 over second to worst. They're the worst fielding team I've seen at LSU. I've got them at 14. This team is not very good right now. Their ace is okay. Their number 2 is okay. Their bullpen beyond Sheeran is not any good. It's just not good. I don't have a great positive spin to put on this at the moment. A weekend can change that tune. But right now, you lose all 3 games on the weekend. You got a loss to Bethune-Cookman. You're 14.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
They're out of the cellar. They're 5-7 since they fired Maneri. Swept Missouri over the weekend. You know what that means? That's coming. McCoy's been pretty good in the rotation. It's not a talented team at all, but they swept Missouri, so they're 15th, which means
The Missouri Tigers.
sorry, Missouri. You had that was a good 5-week run out of the cellar. 5 weeks. I think they were in the cellar every week last year. So 5 weeks out of it, that's good, but you're back. We kept the bed nice and made for you. You should feel real comfortable there. It's a general spot that you've enjoyed over the years. That's where you're back. If you can't win a game in Columbia, Missouri against South Carolina, you're last. Those are the power rankings. Texas at the top, Georgia at number 2, Florida at number 3. You got Auburn at 4, Arkansas at 5. I think those teams are damn good. I think Mississippi State is too, but bad 2 weekends for them. A&M moves way up to number 7, Ole Miss at 8. Bama falls to 9. Tennessee vaults its way up to number 10, Kentucky at 11. It pains me to put Oklahoma and Vanderbilt ahead of LSU, but those 2 teams did beat LSU in a series. They have better conference records than LSU. What are you going to do? LSU is at 14, South Carolina 15, Missouri at 16. Let's take a time out. We will come back. We'll close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Let me tell you about my friends over at Auctioner. And there are different reasons why you may need care over at Auctioner. They want to make sure that they're directing you to the right place. And the way they do that is you visit their symptom checker online at auctioner.org/findcare. Primary care is your comprehensive and continuous care. Immunizations, asthma, maybe some stomach aches. They'll check your chronic diseases like high blood pressure, cholesterol, maybe blood sugars. And it's good to mention that, look, they got virtual visits that are available there. Urgent care needs immediate care. But their common illnesses may be minor injuries. You're talking about abscesses or lacerations, mild to moderate stomach aches, maybe heat-related illness, non-life-threatening allergic reactions. Walk-ins are very welcome. They have extended hours there in their urgent care facilities. You can find a location near you at www.auctioner.org/UC. Emergency care, you need to be in the emergency room or you need to call 911 now. And that means severe chest pain, severe bleeding, head trauma, sudden vision loss, severe dehydration. That means that you need to be seen immediately. That's what that emergency care is for. I want to remind you that My Auctioner virtual visits are available online through the My Auctioner app. You can download that app at www.auctioner.org/myo. And of course, another additional resource, Auctioner on Call. That's 1-800-231-5257. That's our friends at Auctioner.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
My guy Jonathan Carbo at the Howard Insurance Group earlier today, and we were talking about benefits. And y'all know I talk to you about property and casualty insurance all the time, and the Howard Insurance Group is happy to help you out with property and casualty insurance for your business. But obviously, group and employee benefits are very, very important as well. Talking about health insurance, obviously, but dental, vision, all those benefits that help you hire employees, that help you bring in talent to your organization. It also helps you retain talent. You want to take care of your employees. It's a business expense, and it helps you keep the people involved in your organization that you need involved in your organization. If you feel like your renewal did not go well last time around, or you feel like you're not getting the customer service that you need from your benefits agent, your benefits broker, contact the Howland Insurance Group. Let them take a look. They're happy to help you out with that. I know that's a pain point for a lot of business owners in our market. It's just expensive. Healthcare can be very, very expensive. Let the Highland Insurance Group take a look and make sure that you're in the right hands with your group and employee benefits. You can find them online at highlandig.com. Contact my guy, Jonathan Carbo, and his team right here in Baton Rouge. The Highland Insurance Group online at highlandig.com. All right, we're wrapping up the show here, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Busy show today. We'll have a busy show tomorrow as well. We'll have practice report tomorrow. We will be on the Ponderosa for LSU spring football practice in the morning. Have a report at LouisianaSports.net, and then we'll, of course, talk about it on the show. Joe Healy will be here to talk about the weekend in SEC baseball. I have not looked at the matchups for this weekend, so I'm curious to see what they are. That's always one of the highlights of my week because they're all so good. Like, you had Missouri, South Carolina this past weekend, which is terrible. But other than that, like, almost every matchup that you get is pretty damn good. So I'm curious to dive into that and see who's playing this weekend because I don't even know, but we'll talk about it with Joe coming up tomorrow. We'll talk to Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, tomorrow, so he gets ready to call LSU and A&M over the weekend. I'll be sitting right next to him for all 3 games for that, so very much looking forward to it. Should be a fun show tomorrow, but before we get to that, let's finish today with Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, Hunt, we already spoke about it a little bit earlier, but the heavyweight bout between the PGA Tour and Live Golf might be coming to an end, as there was I guess an emergency meeting today in New York. You know, fueled by speculations that this last little tournament they have in Mexico City might be the last one, and Liv is going to shut down their operations. So the floor is yours. Liv, it's over. Take it or leave it.
Take it.
Take it.
Take it.
I'll
Take it. Sounds like it. Nobody is completely banging the gavel here, and it sounds like they're likely to play in Mexico City over the weekend. I didn't even know they were in Mexico City. Wow, going from Augusta to Mexico City for that famous event. But it appears that time is ending. You've got Bryson Brooks who left, Patrick Reed who left, Rahm who wants to leave. He's making weird comments at Augusta saying he knows why he wasn't ready, but he's not at liberty to say. And you just don't have any contract extension for Bryson. They've got nobody that moves the needle. Nobody watches it. And you've got significant upheaval in the Middle East, obviously, where all of this is being funded from. So sounds like Yasser's going to pull the plug on this disaster of an idea, this massive detriment to the game of golf, and that's great. You got to find a way to let these guys come back. They got to either pay financial penalties, wait a year, or both to come back into the fold. Brooks has done his penance. He's going to be back in action and has been. Patrick Reed will come back later on, and hopefully you get Bryson back into the fold. And if Rahm wants to come back as well, and you make him pay for it, make him pay for what they did to leave and split the game in half. But my point all along is not really have anything to do with Live Golf. It has everything to do with I want everybody playing in the same place. And when you take half the players and go play on a hit and giggle on YouTube that nobody pays attention to, that nobody cares about, on courses no one's ever heard of, that aren't well maintained, you get the massive collapse in a lot of these guys' games, and it weakens the PGA Tour. I don't want that. So there you go. Get rid of it.
All right, so former LSU head coach Brian Kelly, while speaking to John Bryce of the U.S. Today, Kelly was asked what went wrong during his time at LSU. And this is what he said. So, quote, I would say there is a simple answer, Kelly said. I didn't win enough games. There's a longer answer to why that didn't happen. I'll probably have to write a book about it one day. There's cause and effect, and the effect was I didn't win enough games, period. So would you read a Brian Kelly book about his time at LSU? Take it or leave it?
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
It happens to fall into my one real genre of books: sports nonfiction. I don't do fiction. I don't want spacecrafts. I don't want wizards. I don't want dragons. I don't want any of that garbage. My wife and I are basically watching a sci-fi show right now called Paradise. It's making my head spin, and I don't really want to watch much of it. But sports nonfiction, I can do, and I would probably read that. I would understand what I was reading, that it was coming from the man who was writing it. But I think the biggest reason, and I said this the day after he was fired, I think the biggest reason is his assistant hires weren't good enough. And you let the defense fall apart, and then the offense fell apart, and that's on the head coach. So it wasn't as if it was a disaster. LSU did not fall into an abyss under Brian Kelly. Nope. But it wasn't good enough.
It was not good enough.
So there you are.
It's just not different. So Lehigh set the Division I baseball record in the first inning, 38-6 over Copen State on Tuesday. The Mount Hawks scored 20 runs in the opening frame, breaking the previous NCAA D1 record of 18 runs in the first inning by Princeton and Air Force in 1974. So will this record ever be broken again? Take it or leave it.
I mean, leave it? I mean, that seems like a lot of runs. I'll tell you this. I got a text message from a buddy today. Would I have 1 minute?
Yeah.
Along these lines.
Okay.
There was a softball game that was played in Shreveport over the weekend.
Okay.
Or maybe last night. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. It got a little bit weird between the Southwood Cowboys, Cowgirls, Lady Cowboys. I think they're the Cowgirls.
Lady Pokes.
and the Huntington Lady Raiders.
Okay.
We're talking about a 54-45 softball game. And the team that scored 45 runs, which was Huntington, they scored 45 runs and lost. I want you to guess how many hits they got to score 45 runs.
Like 60 or something? I
Less.
don't know. 30?
Less.
10?
Less.
5?
5 hits.
5?
45 runs on 5 hits.
How is that possible?
There were about 50 walks and I think 17 hit batsmen.
50 walks? 50 walks? Bro, you talking about LSU? Nah, man, they got to go. They got to go. They got to go.
We'll leave you with some Shreveport softball scoring updates. Missed any of the show today? Catch it online. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. We'll see you tomorrow for the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You know, it doesn't have to be a huge renovation or remodel. David and his team can do that. They did it for Brian Haldane from our news talk station, 107.3. They came in. Brian and his wife wanted a new bathroom area and certainly in their vanity. And David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets did that. But maybe it's not a full-scale renovation. Maybe it's just a tub to shower conversion. Do you use your tub? If not, take it out. Does your tub work? If not, take it out. Does your tub look presentable or is it old and dingy and gross? If it's not, take it out. Put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. David and his team can do that, and oftentimes that's a 3 to 5 day project. It can totally transform your bathroom. Check out pictures of their great work and go ahead and get that free consultation. One Bath and Closets online at onebathandclosets.com.